Everybody, we're back. Brand new Cabral Concept. I'm about to share with you the absolute 2 worst things that you can do to affect your sleep in a negative way each and every night. And I'm telling you right now, too many people, even many of my own clients, are doing these things too often, at least one of them. And it is the absolute best thing that you can do to improve your sleep score, right? So if you take away the negative, it's often a subtractive process that I teach people. It's a subtractive process in order to improve. That means not always adding more. Like there's lots of great nutritional supplements to improve your sleep score, but sometimes it's just subtractive. Get rid of the thing that's harming your sleep in the first place. All right, let's get right into it. Where did I get this data from? Well, there are essentially 3 great sources for tracking your sleep. The first one is Oura Ring. The second one is Whoop Strap, and the third one is your Apple Watch. There are other ones under that tier. You know, when you look at Garmin, you look at Fitbit, you look at Withings, like there's a few more that are very good. BioStrap is another good one, but really the cream of the crop is the first three that I mentioned. And honestly, I would say that I am unbiased because I have no affiliation with Oura Ring. They're the best at tracking sleep score, aren't they? Without a doubt. When I used the Whoop Strap, I liked it. I thought it was a great device. I didn't like wearing another thing on my wrist, but I will tell you this, that their deep sleep is way overscored, way overstated. Meaning like I was getting 2+ hours every single night of deep sleep, and I just know that that's not the case. I would love to, like that's great. If my body needs it, phenomenal, but simply not the case. The most accurate is the Oura Ring, and I would say the second most then is the Apple Watch. I've said it in the future that Apple will probably win this race in the future, but for right now, Oura Ring I think is still the best. You put it on airplane mode and it's just a ring. I don't like wearing a watch to bed, truthfully, so I don't. Okay, so I took my data from the Oura Ring. Again, no affiliation with the company. They have sold over 2.5 million Oura Rings and have data from all of those people. So when they look at that data, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. They're not, it's not anything bad to be able to look at your data. Honestly, I believe that because it can be anonymized. And if you're doing things in the right way, you can just say, okay, over these population studies, what 2 things harm people the most in terms of sleep? And they actually gave 3. But the third one it's not always in your control. So the third one basically was just this. When people switch time zones, they get poor sleep. Yeah, of course, right? There's jet lag, there's switching time zones. So we're not going to go over that one today because that's not always within your control. And honestly, how many times a year are you switching time zones? Some people, maybe quite a bit. So you want to have a plan. Like I have a plan when I travel to the West Coast. I literally go to bed 1 hour later than I would on an East Coast time. So I typically am always in bed by 9:30, 10. So what time do I get to bed when I'm on the West Coast? 8 o'clock. That's the latest that I go to bed on the West Coast. I know it's ridiculous, 8 p.m. I totally get it, understand. But I'm out there for work. I'm not out there partying. I'm not out there anything. I'm there for work. So when I go out there, all I have to do is just say, great, I'm going to have my dinner at 4 o'clock, 4:30 at the latest. I'm going to get into bed at 7:30. And yes, it's not easy. I need to have the blackout shades and all that. Eye mask, you name it. But then I'm in bed at 8 and it's really 11 o'clock back home. So it's not a massive change. And then I just allow myself to sleep in because truthfully, I could sleep until 5 the next morning and that's 9 hours of sleep, right? And I'm still up before I'm going to be needed. So anyway, just wanted to share that. That's what I do time zone wise. For me, I use the sleep help support. I use the liquid melatonin and I use Adrenal Soothe and magnesium at dinner. That's the stack that I've always used. And if I cut it down, it's always just liquid melatonin. Liquid melatonin. It is, I use 2 droppers and then I use the full spectrum magnesium, 2 capsules, and 2 capsules of Adrenal Soothe. And I take the capsules at dinner and the melatonin before bed. If you just want my stack, that's exactly what I do. And it works great. And then I do the same when I come back East Coast wise and I want to go to bed by 10 o'clock then. I need to fall asleep an hour earlier, right? Because I was going to bed an hour later. And so I use the same stack, get in bed early. That's it. It takes maybe 1 night to reset. That's all. All right, but let's go over the 2 things that you may not be as familiar with. The first one's not going to shock you. The second one, I think, may not shock you, but a lot of people are doing it. So let's go over it right now. The first one is this. It is alcohol consumption. Now, again, probably not shocking you, but of everything in the world, like out of everything that could be tagged in Oura Ring, because you can tag when you get a bad night's sleep. Why do you get a bad night's sleep? People tag it, this, and this. Out of everything that's tagged, alcohol, that was one of the 3, right? That's the 3 worst. Why? Because here's what they found. And this is actually great data. When Oura when Oura Ring members tag alcohol, it's associated with a median HRV decrease of 12%. Over 70% of members saw at least some negative effect on their HRV, and deep sleep decreases by almost 7%. So let's look at these numbers. If you were to have an average HRV of 30, let's just say 30, that means you're going to go down about 4 points, right? 4.5 points or so. So now your 30 is a 25.5. It's significant, right? Like that, you're like, oh, something happened last night. And that's even just with a little bit of alcohol. It's like, that's just, an average. It could be cut in half for some people. And 70%, 7 out of 10 people have at least some negative side effects. And then a decrease of 7% on deep sleep. Well, we're shooting for about 90 minutes a night. So if we have 7% less, can I do hard math on that? Yeah, it's about 10 minutes. So again, significant, right? Like that's a real decrease. Okay, so the first one is alcohol. Now, a lot of people think I'm going to consume alcohol because I'm actually going to get better sleep. The truth is that alcohol can reduce stress, okay? It can depress and calm the central nervous system. The problem is that it can increase the sympathetic nervous system. So while you might be able to fall asleep easier, it actually increases fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system dominance. And if SNS increases, that is why your HRV drops. Because your HRV, heart rate variability, measures the milliseconds between heartbeats. And believe it or not, the more variability there is, the more relaxed your body is. When you drink alcohol, maybe it relaxes your mind for a moment, but it actually increases stress on the body. All right, because it has to detox all of this alcohol. So fall asleep, yes, you can fall asleep maybe a little faster with alcohol, but staying asleep and good quality sleep doesn't happen. All right, so let's go to the second one. This is a big one, and this is important because it wasn't necessarily just a particular type of food. It was eating too close to bedtime. And the larger the meal, the worse the sleep. So when you look at this, here's Oura Ring's why. When you eat close to bedtime, your body's focus shifts to digestion, leading to various physiological changes, such as an increase in blood flow and a higher resting heart rate. This leaves less time for the heart rate recovery overnight, resulting in a lower heart rate variability. So heart rate variability, the higher the better, just on your baseline. Again, you don't need to wake up with a 70 HRV. Your HRV might be 35, could be totally fine. All you're looking for is after a month, okay, this is my average HRV. Now, is it about average most nights? Totally fine. What are the nights that it improves? What did you do that day? That's going to, and that night, that's going to be a good indicator for you. Or when it's lower, did you catch a virus? Did you eat too close to bedtime? Did you drink alcohol? Were you overly stressed? Were you too hot? Did you exercise too close to bedtime? All of these things can decrease HRV because they increase heart rate. They increase body temperature. And that is exactly what happens when you eat too close to bedtime. So this is really important. Like this is something that you can see an immediate change in. So many of you know I've been really dedicated to trying to lower my resting heart rate overnight. I'm someone that absolutely runs hot. I call it that, hot. I run sympathetic nervous system dominant. I run, body temperature, not like, yeah, I run hot. Like if my daughters, grab my arm or grab my hand, which they like to do when they're cold, I emanate a good amount of heat. And that's not necessarily a bad thing with metabolism, but you need to lower that body temperature when it's time for bedtime. You need to lower the heart rate. So I do things. I've got a lot of shows on how to get more deep sleep and REM sleep. But here's what I found. There's 3 things. I'm going to share a couple more in a future show. But the absolute best thing that I could do is have a light dinner and have it at least 4 hours away from bed. When I do my fasting days or I just do a smoothie for dinner or something like that, HRV it's not even like 10% higher. It's oftentimes, it's like, it could be 10 points higher. It could be 12 points higher for the night by not eating close to bed and having a light dinner. So it's both. So you might say, well, why don't you just do that every night? Well, because I also live in the real world and I have, a family. And so like maybe in the future, if it's just my wife and I, maybe we have dinner. We have dinner a little bit earlier, but it's like, how early can you have dinner? Like, it's one of those things, like you still have your day, at least for me, like I work all day, then I exercise, and then I come home and hang out with my daughters, help my wife just prepare the table, get ready, and then we sit down to have dinner. But like they have after school activities. And so typical dinner for us realistically, and I like to eat early because we know how important it is for our health, but it's usually between 5:30 and 6. Impossible for us to have it earlier, or we'd have to just tell our daughters, no, you can't do after school activities. I can't exercise. There's a lot of things that just can't happen. So 5:30 to 6 is very realistic for us. Okay. Well, if I go to bed at 9:30, because I've just tried to work that bedtime earlier because I know how beneficial it is, again, for stress and for aging, that, let's say I get in bed by 9:30 and fall asleep by like 9:45, 9:50, the latest. Okay. So if I stop eating then, 3.5 hours before, great. And like that absolutely works for me without a doubt. But if there's a later night or it's a heavier meal, I feel it in my sleep score. Like I can just tell, oh, it wasn't as rejuvenating. I had more food in my stomach. I'll tell you this though. So the amount of protein that you eat at that meal and heavier meat, like red meats, is going to be more challenging for most to be able to break down. So if you're going to have that, have it earlier. That's one of my big tips. The other one is this, is that even if you can a few nights a week, have a lighter dinner or a little bit earlier can be highly beneficial. What's one of the things that they used to do thousands of years ago? Again, they knew in all of their wisdom, they may not have had all our scientific studies of today, but in Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, many forms of Eastern-based medicine, they had soup for dinner. Easy to digest, mainly liquid-based. And for me, again, and for most people, that food's going to be in your stomach for 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. So like, are you really fasted when you go to bed? Not exactly. The food isn't totally out of your stomach. But with soup or a smoothie, and I'm not saying you should do this every night, it is. And that's why when I do my medicine detox every quarter, or I do a smoothie evening, especially if my daughters are out with my wife or whatever it is, I don't need to have a big dinner. Like I'll make a smoothie, whatever it is. I know I'm going to get great sleep that night. And it's something to at least test. Doesn't have to be an every night thing, but it's worth looking into. This is especially important. I'm going to keep it at this for today, that when you're not feeling well and you need to get rejuvenating sleep, eat a light dinner or eat it even better earlier in the evening. Try to finish by 5 p.m. if you can. Get to bed by 9:30 to get your extra sleep. That's a great way to recover. So I live in the real world as well. I totally get it that you might not be able to do this every night, but this, according to one of the largest sleep studies, 2.5 million rings with Oura Ring, those are the two worst things that you can do for your sleep. Drink alcohol at dinner or after, and eat too close to bedtime, especially too large of a meal. Hopefully this was helpful. All the show notes will be at stephencabral.com/3477. Have an amazing rest of the day. Of course, share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. I'll talk with you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.